Here is the BP Ultimate Grid for race number 1 for the BNT V8s. Kane Scott and John McIntyre line up off the front row. Jason Bargwanna and Paul Manuel from row number 2.
And the action heats up here. We've got Craig Baird and Scott McLaughlin, once again, one of the finds of the championship. Andy Booth and the other find of the championship, and Martin Short.
Then we go back to John Penny alongside Angus Fogg. Angus Fogg disappointed after that qualifying effort. Matt Lockwood lines up next, and another disappointment, Tim Edgell. He is in behind.
Then have the two Commodores of Nick Ross and Andrew Anderson. Dean Perkins coming back to the championship, and of course next door to him, Simon Richards.
David Hopper lines up alongside the newly married Christina Orr-West. And we go back to Andy Knight and Eddie Bell, and completing the grid lineup, Hayden McKenzie in the Albany Toyota Ford Falcon. We are ready to go racing at Taupo, round 6 of the BNT V8s. The points leader Angus Fogg from grid position 10, 37 points ahead of Craig Baird as they fan out across the racetrack. Kane Scott with a little advantage down into turn number 1 as we go back on board with Scott McLaughlin. It's busy down, one already around.
Yeah, one's already around. I think there's that Martin Short in there. Yes, it is. Short. Yeah. So right in the action, we knew that was going to happen. 2, 3 and 4 can cause just as much excitement. So we'll see everybody filtering through there.
That was grid position 8. Some damage to the left side window of the super cheap Holden there of Scott McLaughlin. So he obviously got some contact somewhere along the way, but how there wasn't any more, because
now basically Fogg in all this. I'm sorry, Jamie, but I haven't seen Angus Fogg anywhere. He's there. Craig Baird has dropped right back as well. He's dropped 4 or 5 positions going into there. So
there's Anderson up the inside of Simon Richards.
There's Craig Baird there. Andy Booth's got in front of him. Angus Fogg right back. I wonder what it said.
No, there he is there. That was Dean Perkins going through back a shot. So Foggy's actually up into the 4th position. That's a massive gain off the race start.
Yeah, there you go. That was just that trainer thought. He was so relaxed in the front of it at the beginning of this race. So that's paid dividends for him. So the guy that's battling with him in the championship is right back. But the guys 3rd and 4th at the moment, 1st and 2nd. They'll be looking to make a clean set of heels, get away from the rest of the field, and take the battle to each other.
John Penny was side by side with Andy Booth on board with Scott McLaughlin. So he's been delayed. Craig Baird's been delayed. So Baird, that was a 3rd row. So that maybe happened up a little bit ahead of Martin Short, who started from grid position 8. So obviously there were some issues going down into 1, and that's sort of top 3rd of the field as Kane Scott will lead lap number 1 from John McIntyre. 3rd and 4th in the points, 1 and 2 in the race. Jason Bargwanna drops a wheel off the exit of the final corner. He's in the 3rd position in the Redco Ford. Then Foggy, what a start from grid position 10 to be 4th at the end of lap number 1.
And that's the thing about it, Jamie. You can come into turn 1 there, right around the outside. Here we go. Look, 4 or 5 car lengths abreast.
Here's the peak anti-freeze replay of Martin Short's.
Okay, so John Penny was on the inside. Martin Short got sideways at some stage, probably got a bit of a helping hand from behind him, got in the back of Craig Baird. So here we go.
This is the front-on shot, so certainly. Now, where was Craig Baird and all that? I think he was to the inside. Where has he been delayed? The rest of the field did a magnificent job to avoid really getting into Martin Short any more than they did.
Yeah, and that's one of the problems. You know, you got 4 or 5 cars wide going into one corner. At the end of the day, there's one racing line. 5 into 1 doesn't work out, but here we go. The Commodore Cup is at the moment being led by Paul Manuel, who's in 5th place. Then we go back to Scott McLaughlin and our good mate Andy Booth.
Yeah, Booth is just ahead of that, but John Penny's got ahead of Craig Baird. So Craig Baird currently scored in, the 8th position. As Angus Fogg, he's done really well out of this race start, goes to work on Jason Bargwanna.
He's got an absolute flyer coming off the corner there. He's just going to pull out of this battle of Jason Bargwanna. At the moment, he's just tucked in, getting as much draft. He's that thing of Jason Bargwanna's got some boogie in a straight line. I actually thought Angus had a run on him there, but nothing's come of it at all.
Paul Manuel staying there right there with him with the Oryx Holden. John Penny brewing a fuel pump problem in the top 10 shootout is the word that we got overnight, Mark.
It is, yeah, saying it's the first time he's been in the top 10, and of course this is his home circuit, so he's looking for big things. Didn't come of it. So here we're looking at the back of Scott McLaughlin's car, looking back on Andy Booth. Like you say, you can see the damage hanging off the side of the passenger's door.
So Timmy Edgell up into the 10th position. He was a very, very disappointed young man after qualifying, having won the previous round at Manfield. They got no new tyre gain and made a slight error with the track conditions with their tyre pressures for qualifying.
There we go, and Angus is all over Jason Bargwanna, but if there's one man that can make a car very wide, it's the man in the number 12 car, Jason Bargwanna, of course, a supercar regular over in Australia there, so if anybody can make life difficult for Angus, it will be him.
Yeah, Bargwanna setting a new track record at Abu Dhabi for the BOC Gases team, subbing for Jason Richards. who continues to be on the improve, so that's great news. Fogg 4th, Paul Manuel in 5th, the first of the Holdens. John Penny, outstanding start, 6th. Craig Beard 7th, McLaughlin, Booth, Edgell, Andy Anderson with a great start. Anderson from grid 14. He's made up some ground in the early laps as well. Obviously managed to avoid any of that, what was going on.
Look at the damage on the side of that super cheap car is also, if you look at the car in front of him.
Craig Beard, I thought he had a similar amount of damage to the left-hand door.
Yeah, there you go. Look, that's how you get air conditioning on one of these BNT V8s. So that used to be a window, no longer. Here's Craig Beard having a bit of a run down the inside. I would expect Scott McLaughlin to follow through if he can.
So we'll be back on the other side of this. Scott now starting to get away from John McIntyre. You can see the gap back to 3rd place, Jason Bargwanna with Angus Fogg in 4th. And Mark, looking at Foggy's position at the moment, he really got out of Manfield with a miraculous recovery points-wise to still lead after all of the dramas he had. And already in this first race, he's achieved that first target.
Yeah, I was going to say he got out of jail free card, but that's not true at all, because the team, they just backed themselves. As they said, they found a couple of things overnight, and here we go. John Penny, we saw him having a fantastic race in the early part of it, but he's just falling back.
Here's the Peak Anti-Freeze replay. Oh, Tim Edgell's given him an assist under brakes down towards.
Oh, he's kind of missed everything. So
cleaned up the tyre stack on the way through. That was a big lose, and what a recovery. So there's the battle for 3rd, 4th and 5th. Jason Bargwanna. At the start of the weekend, I said, look out for Jason, because he's been really getting stronger. You know, he missed Manfield, we know, but he was doing the supercar event in Abu Dhabi, but he doesn't lack the confidence. And the other one we said to watch was Scott McLaughlin. He's had a few little dramas at the start of this one, but he's still well inside the top 10 aboard the 2nd place, John McIntyre.
Now, John McIntyre, another 2/10 of a second quicker than Kane Scott. So, 3 laps to go. We're talking about 0.8 of a second. He is coming on strong, very strong towards the end of this race. Kane Scott will be in defensive mode because I think he's used the best of his tyres and everything to this stage of the race. So we're going to come down to what I think is going to be a last lap dash.
So John McIntyre, he poled here last season, won the first 2 races. Craig Beard, of course, tied the championship up in the 2nd race of the weekend. We've still got one more round for the BNT V8s to go after this, and that is of course, at Hamilton with the ITM 400, supporting the V8 Supercar Championship. So Craig Beard back in the 6th position. He's just working his way onto the front straight, chasing down Paul Manuel with Angus Fogg. So Fogg's going to get a gain here on Craig Beard, but he's going to lose some points to Kane Scott and John McIntyre. So effectively, it's just going to continue to tighten things up, Mark. Where does it sit right now?
Well, it does. Okay, Angus Fogg will still be leading the championship, but 42 points behind him is the new 2nd place man. So it finishes the way it is, of course, being Kane Scott. Craig Beard 4 points behind him, and then Johnny McIntyre making inroads as well. So it is game on, and this is only race 1 of 3.
So Foggy's actually made a gain points-wise. He started this race with a 37-point advantage over Craig Beard.
But of course, we've got a new 2nd place man now, being Kane Scott. So the biggest winner in all this is the man out front.
Again, John McIntyre was a 10th quicker the last lap. That gap now just 0.7 of a second on board. The tally's forward with John McIntyre.
Johnny's trying to shorten the track up at every opportunity he can, but look, you know, these cars, the tyre pressures would be up to the beyond the ambient temperature that they should be going at. The brake pedal will be going away a little bit. These guys are just persevering here. I doubt Kane's going to do a big enough mistake where Johnny can capitalise on that.
Well, Kane Scott just went 0.3 of a second quicker than John McIntyre. 36.7 for Scott, 37 flat for McIntyre. That leads back out to a second.
Yeah, and Johnny lost that. Going through 12, 13 and 14. Just went in a little bit hard. A little bit too close to the apex where he wouldn't have been. Couldn't get on the throttle early, coming on at the front straight. And we'll see in a blink of an eye, 0.3 of a second. But Angus Fogg hasn't found a way around Jason Bargwanna. We kind of expect that to happen. Paul Manuel is still battling away there in 5th place in the first of the Commodores. And Craig Beard. Back to Scott McLaughlin, of course, Andy Booth in 8th place.
So the last lap board out, Kane Scott looking for victory. 2nd in the championship now, but Angus Fogg unbelievably has extended his championship lead by 5 points. But we've got a new 2nd place car in the championship. Craig Beard third, John McIntyre. That will also make a gain for McIntyre, who started the weekend at 113 points out of the championship lead. Last lap run for Kane Scott. A confident Kane Scott is a very, very dangerous Kane Scott.
He hit the nail on the head. Anytime he's got confidence in a bit of machinery, we know he can get all the speed out of it that he's got. And like you said, these two guys in front, they've had a taste of blood for this weekend, and they're just going to keep going.
So Kane Scott out of the final corner. He's led from the green. Scott with the victory. John McIntyre in second, the Fujitsu team, the Racing Projects team congratulating each other. Just 0.8 of a second separated Kane Scott and John McIntyre for race one of the BNT V8s from the Taupo Motorsport Park. Jason Bargwana, the returning Australian, finishing in third ahead of Angus Fogg, who maintains the championship lead and extends out to 42 points now over Kane Scott. Paul Manuel in fifth, the first of the Holdens, followed by Craig Beard, Scott McLaughlin, Andy Booth, Andy Knight from the back of the field, and Andrew Anderson.